Hello and welcome to this edition of Finweek Money Matters. Remember, this is the show that helps you manage your finances. I'm Demisha Greater. Coming up on the show today, we'll be taking a look at the rising popularity of supercars among the super rich. Then we'll be discussing the outlook for mobile operator Vodacom, and we'll talk about the turmoil that we've seen in the global markets. And later on, I'll be joined by a panel of experts to discuss the disruption in South Africa's financial services sector. But before we get into all of that, do remember that we do like to hear from you, so send us your comments or any feedback to moneymatters@abn360.com. But first, let's take a look at the trend of the week. Despite the tanking economy, the local market for supercars appears to be the growing trend among the rich. We're talking Aston Martin, Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini, McLaren, and of course Porsche, or Porsche if you wish. In studio with us to tell us about this trend is Rens Rademeyer. He's the GM for Maserati Johannesburg. Rens, thanks so much for coming through. Exciting topic. Not everybody can afford a supercar, but what exactly constitutes a supercar? Because there have been a couple of models that have come out. The Nissan came out, they called it the most affordable supercar that you've got. So what do we mean when we talk about a supercar?
Tumi, thanks firstly for having me on the show today, and lucky to have my brain picked by you. But supercar is not only by virtue of performance. You can make anything into a supercar. Supercar is more about the volume of production, the quality materials that are used in the manufacturing of these cars. You mentioned this in GTR, definitely. I mean, supercar performance by virtue of its performance, but because of the volume that they make of those vehicles and the type of material that is used in the car, not traditionally considered a proper supercar like a Ferrari would be, for instance.
So who exactly is buying these supercars? The South African consumer is said to be under a lot of pressure, but apparently there's still people who are buying these cars. So somebody who walks into your store to buy one of these, what do they look like? What's the profile?
Well, number one is the enthusiasts. I mean, very wealthy people, self-made, leaders of industry. They like something different. They like something that resonates with their personality. So supercars are quite popular with these kind of people because of the level of personalization you can go into. You can really make something quite bespoke for yourself.
Let's talk about, was it Maserati that's come back into South Africa? They had pulled out and now they're back. The rationale behind that, taking into account where we are in terms of where our economy is currently is?
Well, Ferrari never left. Maserati. Never left.
Okay.
And we were always here. It's just that for a long time we weren't independent. So Maserati have got a global strategy of expansion. I mean, they really do want to grow their volume into the market. It'll still never be considered a mass volume car. But they wanted an independent presence in South Africa, so a complete standalone dealership. So about 9 months ago, we started this process in Johannesburg in Bryanston, and we've now got a completely independent dealership for Maserati in Johannesburg. And we'll also franchise these out across the country. So eventually we'll have Cape Town will be opening soon. As a matter of fact, they'll be opening their doors next month. Durban, and more bigger areas will open, subsequently. This will all be driven by Maserati's desire to compete a little bit more with brands like Porsche, Jaguar, new products that came into the fray like the Maserati Ghibli, that's been a global success, that's just been launched in South Africa, and very exciting for this year, we've got our first SUV in the Maserati family called the Levante.
I'd like to get my hands on one of those cars. A lot of people are looking for different asset classes to invest in. So some people will like unit trusts, some will like paintings, and some maybe would say cars is the way to go. Are you finding that supercars depreciate at a faster rate than an ordinary car? Was it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. It's just the percentages are the same, but the money is a lot more when you talk about the millions of rands that a supercar would cost you. The thing with a supercar though is that because of the volume of production, generally the trend is quite steep in the beginning of depreciation, but it evens out fairly quickly, much quicker than a normal car would, a mass-produced car would. And then eventually what happens with these type of cars, their values start escalating. As an example, for instance, on my floor in Johannesburg at the moment, we've got a 1985 Maserati Camzen. Now, a Camzen would have been sold back in the day, for maybe the equivalent of 200,000 Rand. And even 10 years ago, that same car was purchased by its current owner for only 300,000 Rand. Today, with the devaluation of our currency, unfortunately, and the knowledge that this car was only built in very small volumes, maybe 200 cars for the whole world, that car is now worth 3 million rand. So if you're looking like long-term asset and investment, Supercars is a really great place to put money right now, because people want to put their capital into something tangible. Playing your money in the markets and stuff is quite volatile.
Exactly.
But if you do a little bit of research and your homework and you find out what you're buying as far as an older Maserati or Ferrari or a Bentley is concerned, you can make a lot of money.
Rens, you've been in this industry for over a decade. What do South Africans like in terms of the different brands that we just mentioned? Which ones are South Africans leaning towards? Are they Maserati fans, Lamborghini fans? Which ones sell the most?
It's very diverse. Yeah, it depends on what you like. What the brand says about you. Lamborghini owner might be considered to be a little bit more out there. Not too worried about what everybody thinks, because it's a quite in-your-face brand.
Yes.
Maserati is like a businessman's suit. It's a tailored suit. It's quite sophisticated. You can drive it every day. You can go to your business meeting. It would be considered it's a considered purchase.
Yeah, a statement piece.
Yeah.
Rens, thank you so much for coming in and telling us more about this trend that we are seeing. Of course, it does look as though people still like buying supercars. Of course, that was Rens Rademeyer. He's the general manager for Maserati in Johannesburg. Coming up, the Killer Trade.